Wonderful to see so many of you joining us live this evening. That's great. So thank you everyone for being here this evening. My name is Elena Powell. I'm the Executive Director at the Association of Early Childhood Educators, Ontario, joined by many, many colleagues who you'll meet throughout our time together tonight. I'd like to start off by offering a land acknowledgement. The Association of Early Childhood Educators Ontario and the Ontario Coalition for Better Childcare are situated on the traditional land covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty that binds us all to share and care for the land. This land is home to many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, including Inuit and Métis. We are grateful to all of these nations for their historic and ongoing stewardship of this land. As settlers of this land who have benefited from existing on the land, we recognize our commitment to protect the land, including the water and non-human beings. As registered early childhood educators, we recognize our immense responsibility to confront and interrogate systems of oppression in our practice and in our daily life, in our ideologies and our actions. Meeting here tonight online is only possible because of our access to Indigenous lands, no matter where we're joining from. As such, it is imperative that we hold space to decolonize our thoughts and actions while working towards collective liberation. By coming together tonight in a good way, we hope to find solidarity and feel galvanized to continue doing this important work. I'd also like to acknowledge I'm joining today from unceded, unsurrendered Algonquin Anishinaabe territory, which is land colonially known as Ottawa. And I'll just give a brief sort of introduction to how the flow of the evening's gonna go. We are very quickly gonna move in to an ECE roundtable with Minister Sudds, who are so grateful to have joined us here tonight. We're going to talk a bit about finding hope. What's the current context for ECEs and childcare workers, and what do we have to continue to fight for and to look forward to? We're going to talk about Childcare Worker and ECE Appreciation Day and days of action that are upcoming in November. And we'll talk about some next steps for how we can come together. So it is my great pleasure to introduce and welcome to our webinar tonight, the Honourable Minister Jenna Sudds. Minister Sudds was first elected as a Member of Parliament for Kanata Carleton in 2021. She's previously served as the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth. Minister Sudds has worked as an economist, a municipal councillor, and a community advocate. From 2018 to 2021, she served on the Ottawa City Council. During this time, she chaired the city's Community and Protective Services Committee and held the role of Deputy Mayor starting in 2020. Before entering politics, Minister Sudds was the Executive Director of the CIO Strategy Council, a national technology forum, and the President and Executive Director of the Kanata North Business Association. You think I could say that because I actually grew up in Kanata, but here I am stumbling over my words. She also worked as a senior economist for the Government of Canada for over 10 years. Minister Sudds has been an active member in her community for many years, volunteering with the Kanata Food Cupboard and Ottawa Network for Education. She holds a Bachelor in Economics from Brock University and a Master's of Arts in Economics from Carleton University. She is a longtime resident of Ottawa, where she lives with her husband and their 3 daughters. And as we all know, we're welcoming her here this evening as she's serving as the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, leading on the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program. Minister Sudds, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Elena, and good evening, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I'm really excited to have some time with you here tonight. I did want to acknowledge as well that I'm joining you from Ottawa, the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. So first of all, I wanted to wish you all an early happy Child Care Worker and ECE Appreciation Day, and really to extend my thanks. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the warm welcome here tonight. and really just want to express, my gratitude for the work that you all do every day as childcare workers, ECEs, as well as early learning and childcare advocates. And I can truly say that we would not be able to move forward in building and implementing a Canada-wide early learning and childcare system without you and without the work you do and your voices. So thank you. And thank you as well to our hosts today as well. Merci à l'Association des éducatrices et des éducateurs de la petite enfance de l'Ontario et à la Coalition ontarienne pour les meilleurs services éducatifs et l'enfance d'avoir organisé ce webinaire pendant la semaine de la journée d'appréciation des éducatrices et des éducateurs et des travailleuses et des travailleurs de la petite enfance. A special thank you, Elena and Caroline, for organizing this roundtable tonight. I'm really grateful that I could join you to recognize you and your work during this week, Childcare Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day. As you know, you are truly the cornerstone to the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system that we are all working hard to build and to strengthen. All levels of government are working towards a shared long-term vision for childcare in this country based on the principles of quality, access, affordability, flexibility, and inclusivity. And our goal is to build this system for early childhood educators like you who deserve to be recognized for your tireless work and your commitment to our kids, to their well-being, and to their future. The work that you do is critical to make this vision a reality, and it's critical to the lives of the children that you connect with. Your work helps educate and nurture our future leaders. It may start with learning how to walk and talk or tie a shoe, but it's important work that shapes the incredible people that these little ones will become. So your contributions to support childhood development, educate young children, and provide care are truly invaluable. As your government, we've put historic funding on the table for Ontario, and we expect them to match our ambition and to deliver for you and for the families and children who depend on your care and professionalism. I don't think I need to tell anyone here that without you, there is no childcare system in this country, because you are the heart of it, the heart and the soul of it. Your profession matters, you matter, and the federal government recognizes your value. And today I am here really to say that, and to say that I am listening. I think one of the best parts of my job as Minister of Families and Children is getting to hear from educators like yourselves across this country. ECEs that share their stories of helping our kids learn, grow, and become future leaders. So your commitment and your advocacy to supporting children and families in Canada have really challenged us to transform childcare across the country, and we're listening to your voices as we do it. You're helping us shape our early learning and childcare vision, a vision that all families have access to high quality, affordable, flexible, inclusive care, no matter where they live, and that ECEs are fairly compensated for the work that they do. We know you are highly skilled and dedicated professionals, and you deserve to be recognized for this work. That's why our government is committed to pushing Ontario and every other province and territory in the country to ensure that ECEs are compensated for their hard work. Annual recognition days like this week can help bring attention to that incredible value of such an often under-recognized workforce that is so, so important. So your feedback here today, received in the past, and all feedback I hope you will continue to give into the future are really important. It really helps us as we do the work to help shape what the future of early learning and childcare in this country looks like. So again, my thanks for inviting me out tonight. And I really look forward to this discussion, and I'm really grateful for your time, for you taking the time to be here tonight as well. Thank you very much. Merci.
Erin, we'll pass it over to you to get us started with the panel discussion.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Alana. Hello, my name's Erin Philby. I use she, her pronouns. I am one of the community organisers at the Association of Early Childhood Educators of Ontario, the AECEO, and I am really, really happy to be here tonight with four really genuinely amazing human beings, and I'm looking forward to talking to them. First of all, Kryzya, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about where you work and whereabouts in the province you are.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kryzya Barrameda. My pronouns are she and her. I am a registered early childhood educator at a non-for-profit organization in Toronto area.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, and Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina. I use she, her pronouns. I am an RECE, and I am currently not working because I am in school again. So I've just returned back to university, and I'm in the Peterborough area.
Thanks, Christina. Amanda.
Hi, my name's Amanda Quance, and I'm an EC. I work at Westboro Children's Centre with a group of 15 awesome toddlers here in Ottawa, unceded Anishinaabe, Algonquin territory. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Amy.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name's Amy. I currently work as an early on facilitator in London, Ontario, in the Family Centre service system. I also work part-time as a professor in the Early Childhood Education Diploma program, as well as the Early Childhood Leadership degree program as well.
Amazing. Hi. I'm so happy that we get to talk tonight. Minister Sudds, you kind of touched on the first question we're going to be digging into, which is why our work matters so much. I know big picture why our work matters, but for you here, why does it matter for you? What makes it so important for you? What does it mean to you to be an ECE? And I'm going to start with Amanda. Amanda, what does it mean to you to be an ECE?
For me to be an EC, it's so many hats, right? We kind of do everything in a day, and I think our job has so many different aspects to it, right? From connecting and communicating with parents about how their day is going and how their child's day is going, planning and doing the activities that we think are going to be interesting for children and going to build on their development. And so I'm also like thinking back about, all right, so if they're doing this, what's next? If they're dumping the blocks, what can I expect them to do next? If there's a child who's biting, what are all of the different things that we can do to not bite? So I think, yeah, being an EC for me, it means that I am using all of my brain, all of my body, all of my hours. It's a job that really takes over. And I'm also a parent, so I can say that in many ways, becoming a parent a while back, the ratio was better and the pay was worse. And that I think that working with children, for parents, it can seem like, oh, you're doing my job when I'm not there, but we're doing your job and more. And although the pay is better than than being a parent, which is unpaid. Yeah, so I don't know. When I think about the value of our job and what why it matters, I think that it matters because we are making the future, and we're teaching children about how to live together.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah.
such a good answer. I love that you brought out the many hats. Like ECEs are the most multi-talented people I know. Not just one superpower, several superpowers on the go at the same time. Krisha, what about you? I mean, maybe what does it mean to you to be an ECE? What superpower did you use today?
For me, being an EC, just like what they have mentioned, is that it is definitely a lot of broader definition. It's not just one fits size all. For me, if I explain my job to other people, I just say that I work with children. It doesn't matter what kind of children, doesn't what age, I just work with children and we play. That's how I define it. However, if we move into a little bit deeper definition, I say that I actually work with families. I support communities. I encourage families to access support, to access what they need, and to bring the best for them. These are some of the things that are definitely part of one of the hats that we wear as an ECEs, is to support families and to make them a strong unit as well.
Definitely the family support and building communities for families is so much part of what you do as ECs, which actually, Amy, can you tell me a little bit more about what does it mean for you? I know that families are a huge part of your work.
Definitely. It's really the center of my job as an early on facilitator. To me, I think being a registered ECE and being an ECE means that engaging in that care work piece, so nurturing both children and families. So it's kind of about creating this supportive environment where children feel included, they feel like they belong, they feel comfortable and safe so that they're able to learn and grow. And through that is building strong, trusting relationships with children and those adults that care for those children. As an early on facilitator, that's a big part, is just building relationships. That's a main part of what I do. So I think that this role and educators in general play this key role in building that sense of community, connecting families to resources and support systems. That's a big part of what I do, specifically working in a family center, and fostering that sense of belonging and sense of community, because our work kind of goes beyond just educating and developing, because that's of course a big piece of it, but it's about caring. It's about caring for the whole family, empowering them, and building this network of care that strengthens both families and the community as a whole.
Wildly important, life-changing work. I mean, all ECEs do life-changing work. They build worlds every day with their hands. Who are you building worlds for is what might be different. Christina, you have a slightly different idea about what it means to be an ECE, perhaps. Can you tell us?
Yes, I think the biggest part for me, since I am studying psychology and later going to be into child development, is, this is the first time that children are away from parents. It's when they're starting to develop the self. They're learning what the world is beyond the home. And that is so important when you're building a strong foundation, is that you have to check to see if the ground is stable enough first, right? So when you're building the foundation for all those later pieces to kind of come together, you need to think of educators not as teachers, because that's not what we do. We're not teachers. We guide children. We help them explore their curiosity. And that's the biggest thing, is that we're sparking curiosity. Just this morning, I took my son for a walk before going into daycare, and we were looking at the leaves through the sun, and he was like, "Oh, it looks like it was burnt." And I was like, "Oh." So they're learning how to learn before they're learning what to learn. And I think it is so important to have these quality spaces so parents don't have to just go for whatever they can get because they have to, because they're going back to work. And I think that's the importance of childcare to me.
It's interesting that the kind of lots of touching on the various different things that you do, but the central premise is care and that world building piece, that foundation building. I love that idea, and community. If you were looking for one word that you wish people knew that you, what did you do today that you wish people knew about, that you wish everybody knew about ECE?
Wonder.
Oh, good word.
Just, that is the basis of what humans are. We seek to learn, we seek to evolve, we seek to do all these things. And if we're put into these stressful situations when you're not even cognizant of your environment yet, but you're put into these stressful situations at the very start of your life, you think that's where the most of the support should be to be able to have a healthy society.
Yeah. Amanda, yes, I could strong agree there, Christina. Amanda, that made you think of something, I think.
Yeah, no, I think wonder is a great word. I think for me, connecting is the word that I did all day. I connected children's ideas with, deciphering toddler talk is not always straightforward, but making their words real, connecting with parents. Yeah. And I think that it's important to note that that's not something that happens quickly. It takes a lot of time to build relationships. And it takes people being there every day.
Yep, it really does. Yeah. Amy, what's your surprising word of the day?
I would also say connecting. I think just because in my role at the Family Center, our role is called community connectors. So that's a big part of what I do. So connecting families, not only to, resources in the community. So the issues that they're kind of finding themselves in, we can help them, get spots in childcare with registering for the wait list, helping families, attain employment, registering their children for kindergarten, whatever kind of situation that they find themselves in. We kind of help them connect to resources that way, but we also connect with them directly. So we know things about them. We take time to listen to them. And like Amanda's suggesting, it takes a lot of time and effort and expertise as an educator to know how to do that. That's something that's really shifted my mindset, because I used to work in childcare and I moved into this role and I thought it would be similar, and it's totally different working in early on. So I find that it takes a certain type of person to be able to connect with families and the community at large.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Yeah, really hear that. And Krisha, what's your word?
My word would be responsibility. I always think that I am in a position that is being trusted. I am given the trust by these families or communities that I work with. And it is my responsibility to also give the same quality and the same care that everybody should be able to attain. Just like what Amanda mentioned, that it takes a really long time to build all these connections with our families and our communities. And it has a lot of intentional work into being responsible to actually seek all the children, seek the families, or seek your communities to actually have that cohesiveness into the programs that we offer.
Which is actually a brilliant segue for our next question. You just did a brilliant job of talking about what you value about your work. How do you think other people value your work? What does it mean to be valued as an ECE? How good a job are we doing at that in Ontario, valuing the work of ECE? What do you think? And Krisha, you right in there.
For me, I have, as a Filipino-Canadian immigrant, care or children, providing care for children is strongly associated with my communities. I have heard systemic racisms about, Filipino nannies provide care only. And so being a Filipina in my role, it does kind of confuse me a little bit how providing care for children is so frowned upon. And in my head, I'm like, there's really nothing wrong with providing care. It's just something that people should like to do. I believe that you wouldn't really last in childcare if you don't like children and you don't like the job that it has to, right? And so for me, I think I'm really into thinking that there should be recognitions for educators to recognize the work that we do. It is not, if you come into our classrooms, you're just going to see children play and the interactions that we do. But there's so much things that happen, backhand, coordination of the planning, transitions, strategies, how to get children do activities, sometimes even including families or like bringing children to field trips. Those are a lot of things that ECs actually plan beforehand to make all these happen. And so for me, it's all about public awareness. I want people to understand that my job as an EC is not just children play. It is more than play and children. It is so broad that I could like take so much time to talk about it.
I love that, Krisha. And I wonder if people say like just children playing. I can't think of anything more important in the world than small humans being safe and having the conditions to do their best being them. Like the most valuable thing in the world. Amanda, you had something face, I think. What were you thinking when Krisha was talking?
Yeah, so I recently had a conversation with a parent where they came in. And so thinking about like, how do parents or how does the community value or respect our work? And a parent came in, their child, this is their first experience away from home, right? And the parent came in, this was about 2 weeks ago, and it was the end of the day. This is the last kid to be picked up, so it was a really nice time. I was curled up reading a book with them, and the parent came in and said, so what is it that you teach them here? Which I had a moment of like, oof, this is such important work. And then I was like, I get to tell them about it. And so I jumped right in and talked about how, we're building our community. Right now, we're learning each other's names so that they can ask for things and they can talk to each other and they can play together. We're learning about the routines of the day, but we're also learning about all of the different things that we can play and how to play together and share space, all of this stuff. And the parent really listened. So that was respect. But I also have to say, we have a different relationship now, parents and educators. That parent is not footing the bill for my salary, right? I work at a child care center that's not for profit. And, a few years ago, when a parent came in and said, what are you teaching them? It was more, I'm your employer. And what am I getting out of this? And now, and parents are still paying fees, but we're partners, and we're no longer tugging, between my pay and their fees, and we can build that community together. And so I think that parent, they showed me lots of respect, and I think another way that he's going to continue to show respect for our work is to want the same thing for everybody's kid, and to know that this is a quality experience.
Yeah, I love that relationship with parents that we have now has the ability to turn parents into advocates like that, and that's really important. I can't agree more. Amy, can you tell us a bit about what it means to be valued? What it means to be valued in terms of being paid as somebody who is not in the CWOC system?
Although I'm really grateful for all the progress that's been made for my fellow ECEs in regards to the funding formula and as well just in general the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. I know that there's various actors and communities that are working towards building this system, and I know firsthand from parents' experiences regarding this affordability piece and how much this has helped. But I would like to see this funding formula reconsider the experiences of registered ECEs that are working in early on settings, because we're registered ECEs, it's mandatory as part of our role. And we also deserve those fair wages, because the focus on wage enhancements has primarily been focused on licensed childcare providers. So often we feel like we're kind of, not in a bad way, but kind of lumped in with childcare, and we're not often seen as a separate entity. You know, we also engage in care work. We provide opportunities for early years programs for families. Many of the families that I get the privilege of supporting and playing alongside each day share how they stay at home due to the lack of childcare spaces and the long wait lists that they face. So many of them attend early on programs as this buffer period to give their children access to early learning environments prior to starting school for things like socialization and learning how they can better support as a parent to their child's overall health and development and well-being. So we get the privilege of building these strong relationships with them, just as educators working in childcare do. So I would like for that to kind of be included in that conversation. Several of my colleagues, myself included, and upper management staff all have to work additional jobs to kind of keep up with this rising cost of living. We don't really get that time to rest and recuperate after a full day of work, which can lead to burnout, as we know. So it's really important that we have this awareness of our role being distinct, and it's separate from childcare, although it's similar. We still deserve that recognition as well. So I'm excited to talk about early on that way.
Yeah, you absolutely do deserve that recognition. That care work is vitally important. Christina, I'm going to throw it to you, but perhaps from a slightly different slant, because I know that your situation and the value of the work that you do and do so brilliantly, the way that it was valued perhaps drove you out of work that you loved. Can you tell me a little bit more about that very briefly?
I will be very brief. I'll be very brief, but basically, I worked over the summer for a center, and in the 10 weeks I was there, I had half an hour of prep time. So like I could not get anything organized to be able to, and there was not enough staff, there was not enough coverage. We were always running everywhere. And at one point near the end of the semester, sorry, I'm in school, I realized that the value of my job is because I am there for these children. Like, that is what I'm there for. It, you know, at the end of the day, I can't stay in my position and doing what I love doing, because we live in a two-income society. Like, I can't afford to work all the materials. I couldn't afford to just bring in all of my stuff. I couldn't, so I can't keep up doing the work that I want to do. And it was wild, because there were seven children in the program out of 25 that had behaviors, and we didn't have any enhanced staff. And it's just, people just automatically condemn children to be bad children, but they aren't. They are the most amazing children. And I wish I just had more time. And that's what I wish for, is that I'm always running, and to make those connections, you need the time.
Yeah, you absolutely do. We are out of time. That went so fast, and it's so exciting and interesting to hear from you. I'm really, really grateful. I'm gonna Minister Sudds, did you have any questions for these amazing folks?
I've made so many notes. So many of the things that have been shared tonight just really struck a chord with me. I guess if I was to pose a question, I think it would be, as we are moving forward with the Canada-wide system, we have a few years left in this round of agreements. What would be the one thing that you would like to see improved upon?
Yeah, Amanda, right in there. Good answer.
I think that this is going to sound selfish, but honestly, we need to be paid decently, and we need to have a pension plan so that we can retire from this job, and that we want to stay in it until we retire. So I would say a pension plan and a decent pay scale so that we want to stay. I mean, we already want to stay. To be honest, this is a hard job, but we love it. Yeah, I think it sounds greedy in a way.
No, it doesn't.
But...
It does not sound selfish. Because you want it for everybody who's on the screen right now. You want it for everybody who's watching. You want it for people that you care about, so they can provide care.
And I want the children and the families to know that, you know, we're decently paid. I went and see a parent who wanted to give their ECE a $300 Christmas gift, and I was like, that's really sweet, but that is not a pension. And you're never individually going to be able to do that. So looking at the next round, a pension plan would be all kinds of wonderful, along with, you know, enough spaces for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that, Amanda, and you do deserve that, right? And I will say, we're seeing this now in Nova Scotia, right? We're seeing it in the East Coast, pension benefits. So there are provinces that are working with us to make this happen. So not all provinces are made equal, we'll say it that way, but you know, we are pushing because you're absolutely right. You deserve this. And these are careers that should have longevity, right? You love what you do, and you should be able to continue doing it by being well compensated and respected. Thank you for that.
I look forward to thanking you for that.
Working on it. Amazing. I do apologize that I do need to hop off, but I really appreciated this conversation tonight, and more importantly, I appreciate the work that you all do. And please, you know, when you have ideas, when you have these suggestions, never hesitate. I'm very committed to making sure that we get this right for all of you, as well as obviously for the parents and kids who rely on the care that you give. So my sincere thanks, and happy early ECE Appreciation Day.
And thank you so much, Minister Sudds, for joining us this evening. I know you have to pop off and you have a lot of responsibilities. And so thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us today and to listening to the voices of early childhood educators on the front line of the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system and the broader early years and childcare sector. Thank you so much.
Likewise, thank all of you for your time as well. Thank you.
And thank you, I think, to all of the panelists for sharing so deeply and so eloquently with the minister this evening, your thoughts and your experiences and your feelings with her. I think that was amazing job. So thank you, Kryzya and Amanda and Amy and Christina, and of course, Erin, for your expert facilitation. I don't know about folks in the audience, but for me, that absolutely filled me up hearing that conversation, because you know, as someone who trained as an early child educator and went into advocacy because, you know, I was so frustrated by what I was seeing in the sector happening to ECEs who are so passionate about their work and treated so poorly. You know, it's just so great to see our community just so strong and so able to say what is needed to change. And that when the minister asks us what's one thing that you'd like to see, we absolutely know what that answer is, right? And I think that takes us forward to talking about what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of days, and then in the next month, because of course Thursday is Early Childhood Educator and Childcare Worker Appreciation Day. The Appreciation Day with the longest name is what I like to call it. But really important, it's the 24th annual Childcare Worker and ECE Appreciation Day. And this day is going to be being proclaimed by, I just made a final count, although you never know, a few more come in, but about 35 out of the 47 municipalities are proclaiming the day. Other ones are doing purple light displays in their town halls and all sorts of things like that. And there's events planned at childcare programs right around the province, you know, centers and programs and early-ons and schools all do their own celebrations, and you know, childcare unions like CUPE 2484 have appreciation events for their members as well. So it's a day where a chance to really take a moment to thank ECEs, and I hope that everybody feels that love from the community that they work with. But of course, it's also a day to talk about what early childhood educators and childcare workers need across our province. And this year's theme is Worth More, as Alana puts the poster up for me. That's our poster that went out. I'm sure my colleague Kim could tell me how many thousands of posters have gone out around the province and how many thousands of buttons have gone out around the province as well. But the theme again this year is Worth More, which has been our campaign for the last few years. A campaign that the Coalition and the Association of Early Childhood Educators and our partners and allies have had to push for a real wage scale, a publicly funded wage scale for early childhood educators and childcare workers. And we haven't won it yet. And we pushed for it in the new funding guidelines. We don't have it. We know that other provinces, as the minister mentioned, are way ahead from Ontario on this point. And it's something that we're going to be continuing to push for. So, you know, as part of that, that's going to be something we'll talk about on ECE Appreciation Day. It was last Appreciation Day that we released a report that showed Ontario had actually the lowest wages across the country, and our wage floor was the lowest across the country. And it was only a month after that report came out that Ontario said, oh, actually, we're going to increase the wage floor. So we're no longer at the bottom of the barrel. But of course, you know, middle of the road isn't good either. When it comes to ECE wages, I think that early childhood educators and childcare workers in Ontario deserve so much more. So that's something we're going to continue to fight for. So one of the things that's going to be coming up next month is it's still in the planning stage, and we want to involve everybody on here in that planning, is 10 days for 10 a day childcare. And our slogan is 10 a day and decent pay. We know the $10 a day childcare plan is making a difference for families in Ontario and right across the country who have seen their childcare fees here in Ontario cut in half if they're part of the CWELC program. And in January, they're going to be capped at $22 a day and then down to $10 a day in 2026. But of course, it's a time to celebrate the progress that we've made, that after 50 years of struggle, Canada finally has a plan to build us that publicly funded childcare system that so many people have fought for over the decades. But we know that there's so much further to go. So we're doing 10 days so that we have time to both talk about the progress we've made, how we have to keep building that program, how we have to defend it from those who would attack it, but also have time to talk about the things that we haven't accomplished yet, and the things that government hasn't accomplished yet when it comes to the 10-a-day plan. And the big one is, of course, decent pay. So we're going to have time in that 10 days of action to talk about the need for salary scales, to talk about the need for a pension plan, as Amanda so eloquently told the minister directly, about the need for health benefits and about all the things that are needed to turn these important work in early childhood education and care from something that someone might do for a few years before they burn out or they have to leave the sector because they can't make a go of it, to something that someone can build a career working in early learning and childcare. That's certainly my dream for the sector. So that 10 days of action is going to come up in November. It's from the 20th of November, which is the National Day of the Child, to November 30th, which is the day that we've had a day of action the last couple of years. So that's the plan. That's Childcare Now's initiative, and you'll be hearing more about it from us if you're members of our organizations, which you all are in the audience. But the best way to get more involved with our organizations is through joining a care collective. And I think I'm passing it back over to someone who's going to tell us more about the AECEO's care collective.
In a moment, I'm going to sneak in between to just talk briefly about, I'm sorry, I'm going to take my slide deck back here. This idea that came up that the minister sort of talked about and Carolyn sort of talked about, but I think is really important for us to keep in mind because we know that things have been difficult. And the rollout of the 10-a-day plan, of course, comes with challenges, as does building any system. And I want to remind us today of the hope that we still hold for what's possible and a brief reminder of the progress that's already happened just because of the advocacy of this community in Ontario, of all of you. So pre-$10 a day plan, we were fighting as a sector to continue the $2 wage enhancement grant every year. It was like, we got to make sure we keep this wage enhancement grant every year. And then in 2022, maybe a few years too late, we had some movement. Oh, sorry, 2023, we had some movement when Ontario introduced a $19 an hour wage floor, which was a huge, huge problem. Way too low, not good enough. But it was some kind of establishment towards a wage system, completely insufficient, and we had to push back on it. But it did, for many people, help move them a bit forward. When you look at 2022, 76% of non-RECE staff were making under $20 an hour, and 30% of RECEs were making under $20 an hour. So moving up this floor mattered. But we pushed back. We said, this is not good enough. This wage floor is not sufficient. And like Carolyn mentioned, in 2024, starting in 2024, announced in 2023, we did see the wage floor increase to $23.86. And this is an advocacy win. It's because of the work of early childhood educators, childcare staff, early years professionals, operators, families across the province who stood up and said educators are worth more. So we're still fighting, as Carolyn mentioned, for more. Our next stop is to continue our campaign for better wages and working conditions. We've been asking for a publicly funded salary scale of $30 to $40 an hour for RECEs starting at, and at least $25 per hour for non-RECE staff. It should include annual increases and steps to reward years of service. It should include the immediate implementation of a benefits and pension plan. This is the goal, and this is where we're going. Right now, we still have a lack of decent work. We've seen movement, we've seen wins with the increase of the wage floor, but there's a long way to go. But we're not taking our eye off that prize. We have a goal, which is the future of this profession, an appropriate salary scale that recognizes qualification, years of experiences, defines job roles, establishes a career ladder, recognizes professional learning, all the things that educators know they need and deserve. We're going to make it possible, but we've got to work together. And the minister talked about this, and Carolyn talked about this. There's hope. This is possible. In Manitoba, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland, and Labrador all have implemented ECE wage grids since the introduction of the 10-a-day plan. Yukon, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan have committed to implementing wage grids by 2025-2026. PEI has implemented 3 wage increases since 2021 and embedded paid planning time into their wage grid. Yukon and Nova Scotia have committed to providing health benefits. PEI and Nova Scotia have committed to pension plans. And Nova Scotia's is a defined benefits pension plan, one of the best pension plans you can get. And they increased their wage grid to ensure that educators weren't paying the cost of their contributions, but to offset it. So this is what's happening in other provinces and territories. This is what should be happening in Ontario. This is what all of you deserve and every educator across the province deserves. And this is what's next. This is where we're going. And now I'm going to pass it over to Erin, who's going to talk a little bit about the care collectives and how to get more involved in the work we're doing. And we're going to watch a short video about them as well. So Erin, over to you as I slide through.
Thank you. There's so much to hope for. There's so much that's possible, and we know what we need. the how part can feel a little confusing and isolating. If you are in your sitting room right now thinking, yeah, I want that. How are we fighting for that? I am going to let my friend Mika tell you about her experience of advocacy and what her part of that fight and that struggle has looked like, because it's maybe not what you think. So let me see if I can share my screen here and the sound at the same time.
Children laughing, shrieking, chattering, crying, singing, and banging. These are the daily noises of my job. And while some of these noises would send most adults running in the opposite direction, to me, these are the noises of discovery, friendship, and curiosity. When COVID first shut down childcare centers across Ontario, I had been working in the field for 11 years. It was the first time in that many years I was not in service to other people's families. Without a job to go to, my days became eerily quiet. And it was in this bizarre quietness of COVID, I discovered the community of practice I didn't know I needed. Through an online posting, I reached out to Lisa, the team lead for Toronto's Community of Practice. She was hosting virtual coffee chats for early childhood educators. It was during these chats I realized how important community was outside of the walls of childcare. I spent many years creating classroom communities among children and family inside childcare, but didn't realize how much value there was being in community with other educators. Everyone who joined the virtual chats had an implicit understanding of the relentlessness and the long-term impact of our work. Through these coffee chats, new professional friendships were formed. While much of our jobs are directly with children, those relationships are temporary. As an educator, I realized sustained connections with other educators is what would impact my job beyond the ebb and flow of the children in my care. In the hubbub of childcare, educators' relationships with children and families are temporary, but important. It is the connections we share from one educator to another that are not temporary and what influence who we are as professionals and individuals. When we have connections with others who are also passionate about the field, we find our belonging beyond being in service to families. We find belonging in a community of people who care about each other. There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Margaret J. Wheatley.
So we know what we need. We know what we need. And how we get it, how we go about getting it is together. We do that by building relationships. We do that by the moments of connection that we saw, the silver threads that connected the things that we care about. Even with this group of 4 people, what ties us together, what we care about, what we value, right there, you could see the connections because we care out loud about so many of the same things. Finding people that care as much as we do, that can support us when we're saying pensions, that can support us when it feels hard, to do advocacy, can hold us up in hard times and big us up in good times. That's how we do it. So I would encourage you to join a community of practice, join a care collective, join an AECEO care collective, and find your people to support you, to be loud about what you care about, and help you find your path, like Mika. We know what we want. There are things that we do. We've been effective before. We've said, 19 isn't enough, and had the movement that we needed. Not all the movement that we needed, but we know that we can win when we're loud, when we're together, and when we care really deeply. So the care collectives are the first thing. The e-action, which is in the chat right now, thank you, says that we can't go backwards, and that this is what we need. And yeah, so one tiny bit of advocacy on your computer, an entire hour of advocacy you spent being here and listening and caring about what you care about. Okay. Amazing. Done.
That's so fast, Amanda. You did it already.
Like that.
Thank you so much, first to our panelists for taking the time to be here today, but for all of you to taking the time to being here with us live tonight. I think our final note is just that you matter. You matter so much to children, to families, to communities. You matter to us, to each other. And we really are here to work together, strengthen our collective voice, and win what early childhood educators and childcare workers deserve. So please connect, join us, and just know that despite how our systems are struggling, the work you do makes a difference every single day. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much.